Welcome back to Product Notes. We have season 2 here with guests and with more amazing news and brilliant topics about the product software development. So welcome. And with me together, I have 2 people, our usual, my friend and colleague, Mario. Hi, Mario. How are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you. And we also have a guest from Vinted, Vytautas. Hi, Vytautas. How are you?
Hey, Tomas.
Hey. So actually, today we want to touch a topic which I'm sure is very, very controversial. I'm sure we'll hear probably a lot of negative and maybe positive discussions, I hope, not just messages. So right now we can see in big tech as well, in Europe, in the US, there are companies mandating return to office a lot more. And since COVID is over, we can see differences in different companies. Some companies saying, well, we'll stay remote. Some are more hybrid. Some are changing this hybrid. Some, like Amazon, recently said, hey, guys, 5 days in the office, and that's it. So there are a lot of differences in the companies, in views, what's best. We can hear a lot of arguments by executives, by researchers, and we'll touch actually all of that today. So I want to start by actually properly introducing our guests, and we usually do it with some Blitz questions because I think it's best to understand the person by how he answers some questions, which sometimes are easy to answer, sometimes are less comfortable to answer. So Vytautai, a few questions to you. Let's start with what's your title at Vinted?
Director of Engineering.
And what do you actually do at Vinted? There's a big difference always.
I hope I could say I do engineering or I do engineer, but probably it's more of a leadership or management type of work.
Do you still feel hands-on? Because I have worked with you. I remember you're a heavily hands-on guy, always into details.
So probably there are 2 levels of hands-on. It could be managerial type of hands-on where you get into details of a project and so on. And I think I try to do that when needed. So not all the time, but for more important projects, get closer. And there's technical hands-on. So God no, if I would do it, I think I would mess up everything.
Okay, so Vinted guys, don't let him touch the code. How many people do you manage, Vytautai?
So I have 9, 10 to be direct reports, and the extended organization is approximately 80 employees.
Nice. Okay. What do you love at work?
So 2 things in balance. So getting stuff done, but having fun while doing it. And somehow, if both are missing, it's shit. If one of them is there, you're kind of having doubts, right? If you have both of them, I'm really happy.
Nice. What do you dislike at work?
Having both missing. So I could share a few things. So toxicity would be one of them. And I'm really glad I just shared it with the team yesterday. If you could measure it somehow, quantify it somehow, I think we have it super low in Vinted. So I'm really happy about that. Yeah, I still made it positive. You want the negative.
No, that's a good answer, actually. Yeah. Okay. So let's jump straight into the topic. And the topic is actually very broad. The more you think about it, what's better? Well, you can hear a lot of different arguments and a lot of different subtopics. And there are actually many, if you think about office versus hybrid or even versus remote, you can talk about productivity. You can talk about communication. Is it better? Is it worse? Tools, do they help? Is it enough? Is face-to-face better? And so on. We also have an interesting thing, which is not often obvious, but real estate, an ability to have everyone in the office. Do you physically have the space for that? There's also the social aspect, like the impact to allow some flexibility to people, who have a need to sometimes, take care of your kids and similar situations. We'll also touch more HR-ish parts, which are also, often talked loudly about when talking about return to office, which is turnover, and how big of an issue is that, and is it even an issue? And also, whatever comes out of this, we'll see. Like we didn't do, as usual, an intensive and extensive preparation, and that's on purpose. Like we want you to hear fresh thoughts and be as raw as possible. So let's start actually by, since now we have representatives from two different companies. We have Wix and Vinted, two well-known engineering companies in Vilnius, Lithuania. Let's talk about models that we have, which will be basis and better for our listeners and viewers to understand where are we, what type of work types do we represent, and both as companies, but also maybe as individuals. So maybe let's start with the model that we have. Mario, maybe you could share what's our model, what's our policy in terms of office versus remote.
Sure. So the policy is, I think, very clear, and it was also very clear before COVID on how we do it. So we had very clear policies. Currently, we do 4 days in the office. You are expected to be 4 days in the office. You come. And you work, and 1 day you can choose to do from home. Which day of the week, it's up to the teams to agree, just to make sure that meetings fits everyone and that the team is all together when it matters to be together. So we do, in my team specifically, we do Fridays from home. I'm not so sure if it's the best fit for everyone, because Friday is too close to the weekend, and some people might think that it's maybe the less productive day. Also, we work with Israel, and they don't work on Fridays. So it's, in a sense, a good day to work from home, but also not so great at the same time.
So what I'm hearing is you have 4 days a week.
4 days a week. Yeah, it's a 4 days a week.
4 days working week.
Might be that we work also on Sundays because we get messages on Sundays, and sometimes it's like urgent that you need to answer. But definitely, if you ask in the office, they will tell you we work double on Mondays because you need to catch up everything that happened on 1 day of working in the headquarters, and then Mondays are amazingly difficult to follow on everything that is happening. So that's for sure. And then we are, at least in my teams, we are flexible. And what I mean by being flexible, we all have life, right? We all have a kid, or we need to go to doctor, or my pipe broke at home, or whatever. So it's okay that if I need to be home for a specific reason, you are just home, and you just inform the team, today I'm not coming. If you are starting to get sick, but you're not sick, please don't show up. I don't want everyone to be sick. So I would say we apply common sense into those 4 days that we are expected to be in the office. If you can, please be. But if you cannot, your life is also important. So we are flexible. And this is how it used to work before COVID, actually, at Wix. We were flexible. So if you had something what to do, you could be. We were 5 days in the office. Now there's a little change, but yeah, we were actually flexible from the very beginning.
Are 4 days aligned at team level? So if you have a team of 10 individuals, so all of them are expected then to lean in into Friday solution?
Yes.
Like, it depends team by team.
Yes.
Like very different agreements, I guess.
I remember there is one team that, for example, decides either Wednesday, either Friday.
Yeah.
So people can choose. So we actually met all together, discuss it, and we had an agreement within the team that the best thing that works for us is Fridays. Okay. Why? Because we are a team also that collaborates a lot with Israel. So it's better that we are in the office while they are in the office. So it makes a lot of sense for us.
Yeah, and it seems nice and natural way to align it at team level rather than say you have to show up 4 days, figure out which ones, then you have to figure out how to enforce it, right? If it's at individual level.
I don't like to enforce it. Like a lot of people ask me, do you check if we are in the office or not. And I said, no, it's a trust-based system. I trust you that you are going to be in the office if you can be in the office.
Yes, but because you have this agreement, so it's easy to notice. We agreed to be Monday to Thursday. Somebody's not there. It's that visible. But if you, for example, you wouldn't be having it at a team level, but you would be having it at individual level. Everyone has to come in 4 times per week. You don't tell which.
Yeah. Yes.
At the same time, like for example, in my teams, we didn't have like explicit agreement that okay, which day is it, and it actually settled naturally. That like except
on
exceptions,
Fridays?
it's no. Actually, I would say half. Like half on Thursdays, half on Fridays. Like not sure why, but Friday.
But it's towards the end of the week.
Yeah, towards the end of the week.
Yeah, I wonder if it's because like you're more tired or you want more focus, or Mondays are more plannings.
Actually, all the meetings are on Mondays. But I do that on purpose.
Yeah, okay.
Mondays, planning days, like meeting days, Mondays, every days, figure out what works best for you.
Yeah.
Okay, Vytautai, Vinted model.
So Vinted model, I had to check. So we're very liberal and loose. So the clarity is not at the same level. So our policy or our target is remote enabled. So what we have by now is, I wouldn't call it a quote, but more or less very informally is you are very much welcome to come on Tuesdays and Wednesdays, dear people in Vinted. That's it. That's the only guidance at a company level. I looked at statistics in my own unit. So that turned out to be Monday to Friday, statistics of 40%, 50%, 40, 40, 30. That is tiny bit above average of than compared to full organization.
Is it always the same people? Like, do you have the core office people and the core home people?
Yeah, you could probably profile people into 3 profiles. There's goers, so it's like you guys,
yes,
4 times per week. So this is office goers, plus minus 1 day office goers, right?
I do 5 days.
We go 5 actually, but we personally
so goers and steroids.
Yes.
Then there's probably somebody in the middle who are going maybe 2, maybe 3, maybe 1, depends really. And then there are people who you have to, I don't know, bring a lot of surreali in to get them into the office. So they show up in offsites and events, company events, unit events. So then I would turn around your question, what is the distribution amongst the profiles? And probably I would say out of those, the 40, the 50, the 40%, majority of them is the first group. So they are there every day. So I think 30% is same people, and then 10 and 20 that are on top are the ones that show up.
And what about you? What are you? Which group you are?
So more like you, I think my average would be more like 4 days, but usually it's the 1 day. My preference is 5 as well. And the 1 day is usually a doctor and kids and, some logistical, life logistics.
Yeah. Okay, very interesting. But does it have to do with your commuting time to the office? Like that you are more often, like let's say you live very far away. Vinted is in the center of Vilnius, right? It's quite crowded area with a lot of traffic. Same as Wix, we are in the center, in the city all center, even a bit harder to navigate with the car and find parking spots. Does it have to do for you specifically that you come to the office more because you live closer?
A lot. So I started working in Vinted 3 years ago, and I was not living in the same neighborhood as I'm now, which is Naujamiestis. So I was like, oh God, I'll have to change my lifestyle and not be in the office that much, because it took us, we have a system at home that we always have only 1 car. So I have a wife and a son, and we said 1 car. And at that point, it seemed we cannot do it with 1 car anymore, because it took us 50 minutes to do the loop. And 50 minutes is hell lot.
Yes, it's a lot.
You could come from Klerge in those minutes.
It's go and back.
Yeah. So and then it's 2 hours of that, and it's not that much of a quality time. So it's a big factor. Short answer.
And you think that your product and engineering team works better from the office or from home? In general, what would you say it would be the ideal for your team specifically?
I would separate and again segment it a bit. And I would say if it's operations, I don't notice any difference. But if I would say it's planning, it's refinement, it's these kind of more tactical type of work than operational type of work, I see, probably very subjectively, a big difference. And I see it from engagement type of situation where you have, 6 people at the table and 4 of them on the screens. Somebody switches off the camera. What the hell are you doing with the switch off camera? Okay, can we switch on the cameras? Okay, we can. But you could still, it's so much clearer if we're sitting in the office, if somebody's opening the laptop and starting to do something else, rather than when somebody's on the screen and they can easily just dial out. So I think you being sucked into the whole thing happens much better if you're at the table equally. Imagine we would have somebody else on the screen here. It's very then.
I actually ask everyone in my team always if they join a meeting from home because they are working from home, camera on. Like if you're in the meeting, be in the meeting. If you're not in the meeting, drop the call, do whatever you have to do. Don't try to be in 2 places at the time because you are there in nowhere. And it doesn't really work very nice, especially on plannings and things like that.
And it always kind of sucks when, you have 20 people in the meeting, let's say, and there's 2 people and you can't connect them, they can't hear you, you spend 10 minutes trying to fix everything, that's just...
and there are some ridiculous examples, so I'll not tell names, but sometimes people, when at home, they kind of set themselves up to be behave more liberally, let's say. Somebody's smoking, for example. You wouldn't smoke in the planning room because probably health, first of all. Secondly, some sort of perception.
It's kind of not legal to smoke indoors now, no?
There you go. So there's legal bit, right? But there's more. You're sitting with the shorts and with the flip-flops. Probably there's some sort of something with a attire bit as well. So I'm wondering if that affects people's behavior as well. So if you're allowing yourself, to smoke, to sit with the flip-flops and shorts, wonder if that affects your attitude.
Yeah. I'm very glad you have brought this topic because one of the things I am bringing to today's conversation is one study that was performed. And I will put all the links in the description so you can read all these studies later on if you're interested to dig more. But one company did an A/B test. And we love data, as you might have seen our podcast, about working from home or working from the office.
Yeah.
What do you think it won? Let's say A group working from home and B group working from the office.
So it depends on parameter.
Okay, what do you think is a good KPI for this A/B test?
So, I read, so that's cheating.
Okay.
Was there a productivity KPI there?
There was some productivity KPIs, of course, definitely.
So, then let's just get it open. There are 2 very different segments, right? One is, or parameters. One is productivity related and all of that, results. And the other one is retention and all HR type of thing.
This is the 2 points. So what do you think, about retention? Let's talk first about the hard topic. What do you think is retain more employees, the model of working from home or the model of working from the office? Thomas?
I would say hybrid or... there was only 2, either fully remote or either...
Well, they call hybrid the working from home and they call...
I suspect that the hybrid had a little better turnover numbers. Which means, I suspect that it means that a bit less people left.
Right. In general, the retention was better on the group that is hybrid. And that actually makes sense, right? Because if you are moving to an organization that we were coming from the hybrid mode and now it's enforced you to come to the office, those that model doesn't fit will leave. But what I found very interesting is that they don't follow up over a longer period of time. It was kind of a small period. I don't remember, 6 months, something like that. It was in a month period. So they get the message. What happened on this next 6 months? People doesn't like it will start looking for a job. But I think it needs to be on a longer perspective. Maybe we can discuss a little bit about how that has been in Vinted and in Wix when the new messages were coming. Maybe you can talk a little bit about.
Yeah, I guess like we all have, let's say, experience pre-COVID, during COVID, and after COVID. So let's say, I remember myself, I was leading one affiliate of a company here in Vilnius, and just COVID started. So I remember myself, I actually told the guys, hey, we are going not to the offices, we are going remote. And that was one type of reality, COVID just kicked in, and we were figuring out what to do, and then immediately we started thinking, Jesus, like what will happen now? How will we work? We had to figure some things out. After COVID ended, we had a bit different type of messaging. So yes, at Wix, we had this messaging that, hey, we believe in office culture and whiteboard brainstorms and brainstorms during coffee breaks. So let's do 4 days. And we even have some, let's say, if we say it's subjective because it's our opinions, it's still, let's say, data because we've seen something. So at least what I felt. So let's take turnover as an example. So it's a bit difficult to say during COVID because you remember at first during COVID, everyone got scared. But when you remember, tech sector just immediately started rocketing. People started looking for themselves. As you said, the great resignation happened and the turnover was actually massive. And did the remote versus non-remote really affect that? I don't know. I don't even think that people care too much about it. But at the same time, most of the companies offered then at least hybrid, let's say. At least in the tech, right? Now, when it comes to, let's call it a bit harsher messaging when, okay, now we need to
come back to office.
Let's do what we did pre-COVID. What my feeling is, what happened, for example, here in Vilnius. And interestingly, we are a global company and our headquarters are in Israel. So, the situation was that in Israel, there was a bit of a tech crisis. You remember like a few years ago, like in US, in Israel, there were a bit different like moments in the tech sector where, people started feeling a bit unsafe. Like we didn't touch our R&D at all, let's say. However,
some layoff massively in some companies.
Yeah,
right?
There were massive layoffs in other companies. Like we didn't do R&D layoffs. However, in Lithuania, we didn't see that. You remember? Like
it was growing.
It was only growing. While there were layoffs in, let's say, in other countries. However, we still had a global policy, like, why if in Israel we mandate people to work 4 days, why we shouldn't do that in Vilnius? So let's do it globally. And it was very interesting because I remember I was scared. Okay, now we have a very interesting situation, right? We don't have any crisis here, but we are mandating people to come back. Other companies are not doing that. Oh my God, what will happen? I thought, okay, I'll need to prepare myself for massive headhunting and so on.
Massive hiring, yes.
Massive hiring. And actually, I'll tell you, there wasn't any major shifts. Yes, some people, especially those who joined the company during COVID time, during the remote time, yes, a lot of them have turned over, have left to other remote companies. That did happen. However, the core, the numbers were not high. So, and interestingly, you could immediately see that some of the people, I think in all this conversation, what is often forgotten are those people who actually like working from the office and we just don't give a shit about all those discussions, that remote is better and so on. We just like it. I have some colleagues who say, I imagine, people, there are different categories of people. Let's say people who are single. We don't have a spouse, we are single at home. Here's a place where we can, socialize, where we can have friends, where we can, have lunch with someone and so on. That's an important aspect of the life. Another category, and I myself remember this a lot, is actually parents of small kids. I'll never forget, and I told this story to you guys, how I was running meetings during COVID. I had 2 small kids, both of them shouting, crying, something is happening in the background. I'm running a meeting for 20 people. I'm showing slides. Someone's shouting in the background. Do I feel good about it? And yeah, you can argue, everyone understands and so on. yeah, but it sucks for productivity and for my mental health as well, right? So I remember I was going to to the shower because there was double door. So I closed the bathroom door and then the shower door. Then there was no background sound. You change your background, your wallpaper, that you look professionally, and then I'm running meetings. Yeah. So for me personally, that's also one of the reasons why office is better for me. But of course, we could argue there are other special cases where
so we did have some turnover at Wix. Actually,
yeah, we did have some turnover. However, I wouldn't say that there was a.
What would be the percentage of regrettable losses?
I don't remember the numbers, but I think we had 1 year right when we started enforcing it, where the main reason of the resignation, so we could check Requisite and see the numbers and how it dropped. It was actually their work policy. So that first year,
but was it more like in tens of percentages?
In what?
Tens, as in more than 10%?
You mean if regrettable or non-regrettable?
No, so the total resignation amount in percentage. When the policy was enforced,
a big,
no,
it was very small. We'll say 10, maybe.
And it was very, let's say, gradual. So
we could open Requisite and see the
numbers.
Understand
that the total number didn't really.
Yeah, the drop
wasn't affected much. However, yes, indeed, there were let's say that actual turnover. But there were people who replaced others and newly joined, so we had to hire more.
Right,
but it was intense.
But I would say that the people during that year, I think it was 2022, 2023, don't remember, one of those years, the main reason was actually those that left were because the new policy. And it's okay, by the way, if it doesn't fit you, it's not the place where to work. And I had some people that came to me and says, look, I don't like it. I said, okay, let's find a solution, because I want to have a team that wants to work on the product we are building in the mentality that we are working together. So if it doesn't fit you, maybe another team, maybe we'll find another solution. So we found solutions with everyone specifically that wanted something different. We found. And so, yeah.
And also the data wouldn't be that simple, because you remember I said that we had this coming back to office. And in addition to this, still this great resignation
the other
period.
Yes.
And still in Lithuania, no crisis. People hiring crazy, salaries going up. Back then, I would say the situation is different now. But yeah.
But again, a lot of people when they were leaving, one of the reasons it was, I don't like it. But if we now look at today's, where we have the policy when we hire and when people is already for many years in the office, I would say almost no one is resigning because of
But in general, now the time I would say is a little different, and voluntary resignations are again very, very low now.
What about Vinted? Did you see anything resignation, because you don't really have a policy? So
yes, we didn't enforce anything, so there was nothing to be kind of sad about and say, oh, this is top reason for me to be leaving. We also have a very low attrition, but I would be surprised if there's at least few people who would be like, I'm leaving because I have to go to the office. Nah, they would switch teams before that happens.
Okay. So the other point of the A/B test was about productivity. And one of the things that they mentioned there is, I would not focus specifically on productivity, but it actually impacts productivity, is that in average, people that work from home, they're working 1.5 hours less than those that are working in the office.
At least they
claim
so.
They claim so, that they are working 1 hour, an hour and a half less. You can read the whole study in the comments. And a lot of them are saying that they are compensating over the weekend or the day working longer. What do you think about this? Does productivity and number of hours matches? If you make more hours, are you more productive? Or is that you're more productive in less hours working from home, and therefore that's why you're working less hours? Vytautas.
Yes, this is very speculative, right? So
yes.
Just based on intuition, I could assume few things. So I could assume if at home and you're doing a type of work where you're not in the meetings where you have to be constantly present, but individual contributor type of work where you focus and so on, I think at home you can so much easily get sucked into constantly watching some BS on your screen, and so there's a trap per se, right? That would be my first suspicion for the trap. Second one, we joked about it on the way here, is that probably people take into account the commute time as working time, and then it adds up.
So are you more productive when you work from home?
Because no, there are people who like also heard those stories. They say, and I'm not saying they're wrong necessarily, because sometimes I do this myself, rarely, but it happens that, let's say you have some task where you need quality time, nobody interrupting you, and you don't want to be in your usual working place. You want somewhere to be able to focus. And maybe meeting room is not the best option. If you're alone, maybe at home, you can do that. I don't know. Depends. If you say so, I trust you.
Yeah, exactly that. So I think if meetings, I'm more effective in the office, more productive, I make them equal, effective, productive. But I notice, I come to the office 8:15 and then start meeting marathon around 9 or 9:30. And so there's on average 1 hour gap where I'm sitting at my table, and I'm thinking like I'm manager, I'm leader. I'm supposed to be approachable. So that way you make approachable, but how much of a quality focus time you do there, it's not much. I think if I would be really productive and effective, or if I would take that to next level, I would probably even adjust my morning routine to do things that can be easily, interruptible, so I'm available to people, but still continue. There are this type of work, you just have to bundle it to do it in the morning. But I think the one that requires focus time, it's just way down.
By the way, I think it's important to open a can of worms here when talking about productivity, because specifically in product development, what is productivity?
I think when you are together around a whiteboard, you are productive. The same as when you are coding, you are productive. You cannot say there is one activity that is more productive.
Yeah, but someone can come and argue, say that, hey, nobody's interrupting me. I can write tons of codes if I'm alone and, nobody interrupts me.
I don't know. Interruptions for me are the best part of the work. I love when I see a developer come in and to the room and talk to the UXer. Hey, I have this problem, brings the laptop, point with the finger. Yeah. How do we solve it? And funny fact, last week I was talking with my team. I'm going to talk about this in the podcast. What do you think about it? And my UXer that has a small kid, is 1 year, told me, you know what? I hate to be in the office because I need to talk on Slack. And I rather do like a conversation, because on Slack I get 20 messages. People don't know that I'm already engaged in another conversation, and I need to be jumping between one conversation and another, and so on and so forth. So I prefer to have everything happening. People comes, I'm busy with someone else. They will come a bit later. Yeah. And it's fine. It's real-time interaction, right? Yeah. And so that's why he prefers to come to office rather than to be at home.
I guess it's still digging into productivity a bit. I would put, if I would have to narrow down to one word, I would say outcome, not output. So you have to produce outcomes. Correct. As any employee, daily, weekly, quarterly, and so on. So depending on type of work is the outcome, right? So if you're a software engineer who writes code more than half of her time, I would be pretty confident in saying, they do it better when they are in isolation. And to me, I completely relate with what you said. I'm more effective because people would come in and align things, and that way I'm maximizing my outcome. Because I unblock someone. Oh, Vytautas, I want to ask you, unblock, outcome.
Move on.
Move on. And that just, and I want to slightly pivot or slightly off topic this, is that companies sometimes do it half-heartedly. The hybrid. because physical is so ingrained in us. So we have a muscle memory. You sit at the table. This looks like a table we could draw with pens on. One of the best, by the way, tables one could use is a table you can draw on. While we're talking, we're taking notes. I delete, I take note again. Very kind of environment friendly and all. But it's so much ingrained into us that we default to it. And I remember during COVID, I was in Danske Bank, and I was in one team where a team of agile coaches where everyone's really good at facilitating. And we came up with such a neat system where everyone would feel included online. So we used Miro boards. We found a way how to make everyone included. Everyone was with camera on. So it was in there, I had better inclusivity and better outcomes. But it required a setup, an agreement, and holding each other accountable to stick to it. So I can make a simpler example. Let's say in your case where you have a deal for, I think both of you said it's 2 days where the team comes in, some of the team comes and some of the team doesn't to the office, right?
Okay.
Yeah. In that day when half of the team doesn't come, let's say you have team meeting online. So half of the people is sitting at the table and half of the people online. So the one sitting online, they switch on the camera. What does the office do? Do they switch on only one main camera, or they switch on 6 cameras in their laptops so everyone's equal?
It's a good point.
So that works when everyone switches on, but it's just such a commitment and holding each other accountable. And it just happened to me that we have one team where we have this commitment and somebody always forgets, and you feel like an ass when you're like, Thomas, switch on the camera. Okay, I'm policing here.
Yes, exactly.
Like also touching about this productivity bit, what I think also, like, and touching a bit on the outcome part that you said, what's the, like, what I often think is, especially if we're talking about like product companies, usually our outcome is teamwork. So, like in my opinion, if you are just smashing code, it's not necessarily,
No, but that's output, not outcome. If you're just smashing code and it's not in production, let's say, so that's output only.
Okay, but what I mean is that, if you're like, most likely your outcome highly depends not just on your work alone. It also, how is it aligned with your UX, because
your
maybe
colleagues,
your other colleagues, your PRs, also your PM, you have questions. Did you do it right? Did you have to remake it a lot of times? If you disagree, did you have a chance to tell it? And all of that, like based on all of that, you can achieve a good outcome as a team.
Yeah.
And I feel that often that is a bit misunderstood, and it's very, like, first of all, it's very difficult to calculate. What's your, like, what's the outcome that you're delivering? Yes, like there are companies who would say, well, you can give a good OKR to the team. Well, can you really give OKRs to all of your teams? I would like really love to hear those CEOs who are saying that. What OKRs, what business OKRs do you give to your infra teams? Do they make sense, and do your engineers really believe it? I'm not sure, to be honest.
I think I would like to stretch it a bit and say I think you can give it, but they wouldn't be comparable.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe even too difficult to move a needle, in a certain period of time. Yeah.
I want to ask another question, because now that you mentioned about how do you do when half of the team is here, half of the team
because
is
I
not
think that's
there.
the worst setup, right? Because either everyone's physical, either everyone's online. The hybrid is the hardest to nail.
Yes. So there was another nice research done here by Lithuanian researchers, actually, about working from home, working from the office around Europe. And one of the quotes that when I was reading this research paper that really struck me is on-site employees may be physically present in the office, yet on a hybrid environment, they mainly participate in online meetings. So they end up going to the office, going to a meeting room, and sitting in a meeting room all the day on a call, on a hybrid environment. So let's say in your teams that you said is around 40, 50%, those high attendance day. You still have people that is going to office alone, and they have the rest of their peers on an online meeting. How does they feel about it? They're just really sitting on a meeting room alone?
Yeah, I think the short answer is that that's a big ass yellow elephant in the room. It's really uncomfortable to talk about it because you could feel some sort of inequality. And it's so easy to get carried away. And when you're at the table, and let's say it would be 5 of us here and 2 on the screen. It would be so easy because it's so seamless. Tomas, no. And you touch and, and those on the screen, like, can we talk? So in few teams, we have this agreement where you open up your laptop. Everyone does raise hand functionality in Google Hangouts. But again, it's while it's minor thing.
Also break the reason why to come to the office. Like, okay, you want the social aspect. That, by the way, we haven't touched, but there is a human connection, social aspect. There is people that is very social and likes to be just around others.
Yeah.
But being like, I need to raise the hand in the meeting is not like, so why I'm here?
Yeah, it deflates, but I think the math adds up. So I'm in some of the meetings, I'm like that, right? So whereas like, okay, I should have stayed at home. But usually it's about proportion. So for example, you have 3 1-to-1s that day and they are office goers. You go. Mm-hmm. Then on same day, you have 3 more meetings where it's like that. You raise your hand while sitting at the table. So then you outweigh these 2. And sometimes I realize that, so thank God I'm living next to the office. Sometimes I realize that just 5 minutes before leaving home, it's like, no, I shouldn't be leaving.
I should be working.
Yeah.
By the way, about raising hands, like I think there's a bit of a cultural aspect as well. We work, with Israelis, amazing nation. I really love them. Like a startup nation, I really learn a lot from them. But I often remember when we have hangout calls, and I click raise hand.
Nobody listens.
No, not just that, but someone says, "Wow, someone raised the hand, Tomas, such a polite guy, please."
Yeah, it's actually very hard to have meetings online, and it's the only way we can communicate, right? They are very far away from us. So.
But actually, we are solving that by decentralizing, right? Like by having management locally.
It's funny to say, when I joined Wix back 2018, I joined a team that was half in Lithuania, half in Tel Aviv. And slowly, we understood that it's better to have a local team. And the team was slowly moving, okay, we have a pure product manager there, let's bring the position here, that product manager will work with a team in Tel Aviv now. Let's bring another position here. And at the end, we had local teams, right? They are all in Vilnius, and it works very good.
A lot better.
But
when was it? How long ago you went through this phase?
7, 10 years.
COVID years was the time where, right after the first, when we started to travel again, was 2021, something like that. So then we did the full transition
to local teams.
218 to 221. At least on my team specifically, it was a transition done.
But it
took 3 years though.
So what you're saying probably has another parameter in it. It's when you have headquarters not in Lithuania.
Yes.
It's something about proving yourself that you can do it with less of an attachment. Because when you have half team there, and the other half is in the headquarters one, there's sense of control somehow. I remember this from Danske times.
It's not only about the sense of control. They know things because they're in the coffee, right? You go to the kitchen and you hear, this team is doing that, and it feels like, the product manager here doesn't know that information because doesn't have the opportunity to be in the headquarters listening to what's happening in the kitchen.
So I called it headquarters syndrome.
Okay.
So you have to mature the satellite office further on so that the headquarters syndrome can go away.
Right, but there is also a part of it of having a team that is hybrid, right? Because this is a hybrid environment, and we had it before and it didn't work. Not only the fact that we have the headquarters syndrome, that I really like it, I will steal it from you, but also that we used to travel a lot because we had to be together. I remember
there's OPEX aspect in it, right?
Yes, and I remember my wife wasn't happy at all that once a month I was a week traveling, right? And it's a lot of time because you want to be connected and you want. So at the end, it's better to be all together. So if it's better to be all together, why you are from your house I don't know, in Lazdine, and I'm in my house in, I don't know, whatever other place of Vilnius, if we could be together, it's losing the sense of having the whole team here. If we really can be hybrid and can be working remote, so then it doesn't matter where you are, right?
Yeah.
If I'm here and you are, I don't know, in Germany and in Poland or whatever, well, then it's fine. We don't need to meet each other.
There's also a sustainability aspect to it, right? So there's, I don't remember exact numbers, but commuters to the office and cars basically is one of the biggest polluters in the city. And then global teams and flying in and out, another big factor. So I think getting back to Vinted, it was important parameter when having remote enabled policy, because sustainability is of importance as well.
Yeah, maybe it's also a shout out to the.
That's nicely aligned to the mission that you're doing.
Exactly. And maybe Vilnius also needs to work a bit better on the public transport. No, I'm joking. To other topic.
We'll tag the responsible people. Okay, so our time is actually up. I can't believe it flies so quickly, first of all, because I really thought, okay, maybe we're 20 minutes in, it's 45 minutes, we're already recording. So a lot of topics, things covered. I think this was a really, really interesting conversation to me personally. Vytautas, I really thank you for agreeing to join to talk about very unpopular topics, because I think like in the last years, what I also noticed, and maybe it could be another topic, that a lot of leaders are actually afraid to speak publicly, about some things which are not necessarily popular. Thank you, Mario, as usual.
Thank you.
And thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and see you soon in the next episode. Have a good day.
Bye-bye.